Boar's Head invites you to enlighten your senses. Introducing Boar's Head Ichiban Teriyaki-style chicken. Inspired by Japanese master chefs, our signature teriyaki glaze is crafted with garlic, ginger, and a hint of brown sugar. Then paired with our tender, slow-roasted chicken breast for a flavor that's sweet, savory, remarkably bold. Boar's Head Ichiban Teriyaki-style chicken. The bold flavor of Japan. Now at the deli. Compromise elsewhere.
Welcome to Heart with Anna, featuring your host, Anna Jaworski. Our program is a program designed to empower the CHD or congenital heart defect community. Our program may also help families who have children who are chronically ill by bringing information and encouragement to you in order to become an advocate for your community. Now, here is Anna Jaworski.
Hey, and welcome to Heart with Anna. This is Chris Perez, a.k.a. the HLHS Dad, and I'm sitting in today while Anna is enjoying some much-deserved vacation time. And, before we get into today's episode, however, I wanted to take just a moment and really thank Anna Jaworski for asking me to guest host this show for 3 weeks. That's a big ask, and that's a big commitment. And I really appreciate her. Heart with Anna is a tremendous labor of love, and I now know that between finding guests and doing recordings and editing and promoting the show, that Anna works really, really hard, and she's tremendously passionate about the congenital heart defect community. So thank you, Anna, for everything you do for the parents out there who are lost, hurting, and confused. I know you've had a very positive impact on their lives and on my life as well, so thank you so much for everything you do and for having me as your guest host for these 3 weeks. And now on to the show, and I hope you guys are hungry, and if not, you will get hungry. Today's episode we've titled Ruling the World One Cookie at a Time, and our guest is the one and only Jessie Wimmer. And Jessie Wimmer is the owner, baker, and mastermind behind the Cookie Cult, which is based in Charlotte, North Carolina. She's also a dedicated and hardworking mom to her children, Noah and Sparrow. Sparrow was born with a congenital heart defect and begins kindergarten this year. Creative Loafing, which is a local arts and entertainment paper, profiled her in a 2013 article and said she has mastered the art of the chocolate chip cookie. And I'll tell you, I can absolutely, without a doubt, say that her cookies are absolutely delicious and addicting. And we're happy to have Jessie here to share her story with us. So welcome to Heart, Jessie.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me.
So let's jump right in. Can you tell us a little bit about your family, and particularly your daughter's congenital heart defect?
Yeah, I'm Jessie. I have 2 kids. As you said, Noah is 6.5. He just started first grade. And then my daughter, Sparrow, just turned 5, and she has started kindergarten. Sparrow was diagnosed in the womb about 17 weeks with double inlet left ventricle, transposition, and an interrupted aortic arch. And like a lot of congenital heart babies, she has had a total of 3 open heart surgeries and then a handful of cath labs as well. She had the Fontan when she was 3 years old back in October 2013, and that was probably the most difficult, just being in the hospital the longest, and she ended up getting RSV while we were in the ICU. So that made the stay quite a bit longer in the ICU than I think anybody was planning for. So that was tough, but, she came through, and she's such a champion now. Most people would see her and never know that she has had all these surgeries.
Yeah, and she if you ever catch her picture, she looks like quite the character, and she looks like quite a fun kid. And I know she has been through a lot. One story in particular that will just always never cease to blow my mind. After Sparrow's last surgery, that Fontan procedure, you and the doctors witnessed an absolute miracle. Would you mind kind of sharing that story with our listeners?
Yeah. October 2013, Sparrow was scheduled to have the Fontan, and so it was a long process, but I remember we got moved up to the recovery room after a week or so, And everything looked really promising, that we'd be transferring her meds to oral, that we started getting her walking out of bed and using the bathroom. And so it's like, oh, everything's moving forward. This is the right progress. But I'll never forget, there was a morning I'm, curled up in my sleeping bag on the couch, and she's asleep, Sparrow's asleep, and the technician comes in to do an echo very early in the morning. I'm never sure why it always is scheduled like that, but Sparrow somehow remained asleep through the echo, but I was awake, and I watched the technician's face, and I realized something was wrong. Of course, she couldn't tell me. She's not the physician, so needless to say, a couple hours later, I've got the whole team comes in and sit me down, and they explain that the brand new piece that they put in, the Fontan, had a bend or a fold in it. And they showed me a bendy straw, and they said, so we need the blood to be flowing through this piece, but it's bent in half. And the flow is constricted. It's still flowing, but it's not fluent as much as we want it to be. So they said at this point, we're going to just monitor her and hope that it'll straighten out on its own. And then, of course, the worst news was if it doesn't straighten out, they basically were like, we'll do the whole thing over again in the spring. So here I am, thinking, I thought we were getting ready to go home, and now you just basically explained to me that everything you did is not right, like it's not working. So long story, they sent us home, and then they said in, 4 to 6 weeks, come back, we'll do a cath lab, we'll check out the fold, and we'll see if anything's changed. And I said, what is the hope here? Like, what am I looking at? What are we speculating could change between now and then? And they said, we don't know. Her blood pressures could get better as she starts moving and stretching, and her body could just, unfold the fold. So nothing really seemed very hopeful, honestly, to them or to myself. And I kind of, wasn't real hopeful. But so we go back, and I waited in the waiting room during her cath lab, and the doctor came back, sat me down at a table, and he explained all these things about the pressures here and there, and, this looks great and that looks great. And then all of a sudden, in the mix of everything he says, he just says, anyway, and I didn't see a fold in the Fontan. And I, slammed my hands on the table, and I stopped him, and I said, I'm sorry, wait, you're going to have to back up. What did you just say? And he smiled, and he said, I don't know. Call it a medical miracle. Call it what you want, but I did an extremely thorough search, and there was absolutely no fold. And I just stared at him with tears in my eyes, and I could barely get the words out. I just said, there's no fold. There's no fold. And then I just got louder and louder. There's no fold.
And I remember that. I remember seeing when you had posted online about that moment. I remember even kind of jumping up out of my seat, like, "Oh my God, could that even be possible?" And it's just incredible. And I couldn't imagine how you felt in that situation. It's just a great story.
Well, even later that night, we had to stay one night just to get Sparrow's oxygen levels back to where they needed to be. And he came. It was like 9:00, and here he comes. He brought us pictures of one image from October when we left that showed the fold very clear, and then the image he took today, that day in December, and he said, it's not there. And I can't, like you said, the emotions that coursed through my blood in that moment, it was like hope, relief, disbelief, completely disbelief, and everything collided. It took my breath away, but it was that moment. Oh, I can move forward. She's well, and
that's wonderful. Amazing story.
Huge, yeah.
Yeah, it's so exciting too. So since then, you started your own business called the Cookie Cult. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got that started?
Yeah, so I started the Cookie Cult in spring 2013. My favorite local coffee shop in Charlotte is called Not Just Coffee. They were having an all-day fundraiser for some medical needs of one of the baristas, and he's a buddy of mine. So I, told the manager, James, that I wanted to help somehow. And he laughed. He's like, well, you don't do coffee. And I said, I don't know, just I'll wash dishes, whatever. I want to help. So he said, sure, just show up, this particular Saturday morning at 7 a.m. Well, the night before, I said, oh, well, I know something I can do. I bake a really mean chocolate chip cookie. I should just bake a bunch of them, package them, bring them in, and see if people want to buy them for donations. So I show up. James was pretty impressed, and he said, wow, these look amazing. So they sold quickly and were demolished within a few short hours. And he contacted me, and he said, what did you put in those cookies? And I was like, oh, it's just cookie stuff, But sure enough, we started a little business partnership at that point. And then since then, I've gotten my LLC. I have a website, and I've somehow attained a small cult-like following. But I also sell cookies at Encore. It's like a yoga studio tea room in the Plaza Midwood area at both of the Not Just Coffee locations, which is soon to be 3 locations. And then I'll cater for events for churches and businesses and then take personal orders online. I will ship to anywhere in the U.S. And I'm kind of one of those people who I enjoy an instant product. So starting my cookie business kind of suits me. It just kind of created itself when they sold for the fundraiser. I thought, oh, I guess I could make a business out of this. So it's a little bit accidental.
Hey, it sounds like it works out really well. And I'll tell you, for all those listeners out there, I am a 100% follower of the cookie cult for sure. They're fantastic. And we'll share a little bit more, again, toward the end of the show on how to get your own. But thank you, Jessie, for sharing this information with us. And now it's time for a little commercial break. But don't leave yet. Coming up, we're going to continue talking with Jessie about her business, and hopefully we'll make you crave some cookies if you haven't done so already.
Anna Jaworski has written several books to empower the congenital heart defect, or CHD, community. These books can be found at Amazon.com or at her website, www.babyheartspress.com. Her bestseller is The Heart of a Mother, an anthology of stories written by women for women in the CHD community. Anna's other books, My Brother Needs an Operation, The Heart of a Father, and Hypoplastic Left Heart Syndrome, a handbook for parents, will help you understand that you are not alone. Visit babyheartspress.com to find out more.
Hey, welcome back to our show, Heart to Heart with Anna, a show for the congenital heart defect community. This is Chris Perez filling in for Anna. Today's show, Ruling the World One Cookie at a Time, features Jessie Wimmer, owner of the Cookie Cult. So we just finished hearing about Jessie's experiences with her daughter and about the start of her cookie business. Let's welcome her back so we can learn some more. So Jessie, when Sparrow was born, did you ever think that you would one day run your own business?
Oh, gosh, no. Absolutely not. I'm sure most heart parents can agree, but when Sparrow was born, all I could think about was keeping her alive. And then secondary was keeping myself alive. The no sleep, forgetting to eat, forget what day it is, that whole journey of being a heart mom was all-consuming. And, I can definitely say it completely changed my life. Pretty much everything in my life, except my son, who... my little Noah is the love of my life. But besides Noah, I would say everything took a back seat when Sparrow was born. I can remember even when she was sleeping, I would just lay awake worrying about her oxygen levels and her NG tube and just being afraid of losing her. And I think as far as I could dream into the future was just hour by hour and then eventually day by day. As she started to grow and we saw some progress, I kind of felt lost. I didn't know what to think or feel. And even though there would be like a ton of relief, like, oh, she's better, they just, the doctor just said she's doing great and patted me on the back, but I would leave feeling a little lost, I think, because I had invested, every ounce of myself into just seeing to her care. And then it was a shift, like, oh, wait, well, now I get to just be her mom. I don't just have to be her medical assistant or her nurse. I get to enjoy my baby in a way that I think all other parents get to enjoy their kids. So it was not ever on my mind that I was going to birth a business.
Yeah, and that's amazing. That's the thing is when we have our kids that have these CHDs, it's almost natural for us as our new normal to be caregivers and to learn all this medical stuff if you're not so inclined, and to run to appointments and do all the feeds and the echoes and all those things. And we kind of forget as we get used to that new normal to kind of reacclimate ourselves to it in our own lives.
Yeah.
So it's really great that you've gotten to a point where Sparrow's doing really well, and you've got this really great thriving business. And so is there anything you learned in your journey with Sparrow that you've used to kind of drive your own success business-wise?
Oh, yeah. I think that everything that has happened since Sparrow was born, I feel like I've redefined myself, honestly. Not just the whole starting and growing my own business, but really like all life in general. I feel like I learned for myself I'm capable of so much more than I ever thought I was capable of doing. It's like that moment where I think I'm so tired, I have nothing left, I can't do one more thing. One more doctor cannot walk in the room and give me more bad news, or another medication to try to get down her throat. But then they do, and I accept it, and we move through it, and it's done. And I realize, oh, wait, I thought I couldn't do this. And I think that there's some secret reserve inside of everybody, and you have to have, or I realized for myself, being willing to, even though I feel like, oh, I have nothing, like I literally can't handle one more traumatic thing.
Yeah,
but then it happens, and, but it happens, and you can't control it, and then you're like, wait, it's the next day. How am I still functioning, and my kids are alive, and I'm alive, and everything's moving forward still, And it's that moment, like, oh, I did it. I'm doing it. And so for that, like, yes, I remember being in the hospital with my screaming 3-year-old who just had open heart surgery, and someone wants to come in and take her blood at 5 a.m. Thinking, seriously, we can't do this. And then shifting now into getting a call very last minute, hey Jessie, we need you to bake 20 dozen cookies. And I'm tired and I've worked all day, but it's like, wait, I know I can do this. It's just a matter of hunkering down and getting it done. And then before you know it, you're done. You've done it, and nothing horrible happened. Like you're still able to function and move forward, and that there's something very empowering. I think a lot of people would talk to me and be like, I don't know how you did it. You have so much courage and strength, and But when I look in the mirror through all those hard times with Sparrow, and then even now, I don't see, oh, I'm so brave. Oh, I have so much courage. I just literally did what I was told. Like a doctor said, do this, your daughter will live. So I did it. And There was a lot of sacrifice, obviously, a lot of self-sacrifice. And I think if you set your mind to anything, no matter how difficult it may seem, I think we'd be surprised what we're capable of when we don't think we're capable.
Absolutely, and thank you for sharing that story of resiliency. So what does the future hold for Sparrow and even for Noah and for the cookie cult?
Yeah, oh man, Sparrow's got big dreams. She's a real independent little girl, and I think that resilience that I was just speaking of is definitely innate in her. And, she's a fighter. She's a really strong, confident little girl for being 5. And she dreams of becoming a vet. She loves animals. And, it's kind of new. It changes every couple of months what she wants to be. But there was a season she wanted to be a heart doctor. And she was, talking with Dr. Bensky about it. She also loves music and singing. So she says she'll be both. She said, Mommy, you're a mommy and you bake cookies, so I can do 2 things too. And I said, yeah, absolutely. And then my son Noah, he loves science. He wants to be a scientist or some type of explorer, adventure explorer. And then the future for the cookie cult, I'm just going to keep baking. As long as people want my cookies, I'm going to keep feeding the masses. And I think a near future goal is to have built a cookie cart similar to, like a ice cream kind of cart.
Oh, yeah.
But instead of it being cold, it would be warm. So when you get a cookie, it's going to be warm. Probably feature on the cart some coffee, maybe some cold milk that you can get with your cookie. So that's kind of a little business plan I'm coming up with right now.
Well, that sounds awesome.
And then further down the road, probably a brick and mortar at some point.
Well, that sounds great. Everybody's going to be booking their flights now to Charlotte to come check out your cart and your brick and mortar store, and I definitely encourage them to do so. Thank you, Jessie, for continuing to share your powerful story. Now it's time for our next commercial break, but don't leave. Coming up, we're going to finish up our show. Jessie will give parents out there some great advice, and she'll tell you how you can get hooked on your own by ordering cookies from the Cookie Cult when we return to Heart with Anna.
Anna Jaworski has spoken around the world at congenital heart defect events, and she is available as a keynote or guest speaker for your event. Go to hearttoheartwithanna.com to learn more about booking Anna for your event. You can also find out more about the radio program, keep up to date with CHD resources and information about advocacy groups, as well as read Anna's weekly blog. Anna wants you to stay well connected and participate in the CHD community. Visit hearttoheartwithanna.com today.
All right, and welcome back to our show, Heart to Heart with Anna, a show for the congenital heart defect community. This is Chris Perez filling in for Anna. Today's show, Ruling the World, One Cookie at a Time, features Jessie Wimmer, owner of the Cookie Cult. And we just finished talking with Jessie about her business and how her experience as a heart mom has helped her. Now we only have a couple minutes left, but I'd like Jessie to give us a little bit of advice. So, Jessie, there's a lot of innovative and crafty and creative heart parents out there, and some of them may dream of one day starting their own business, but they're really scared or hesitant. What advice would you give to these listeners?
Oh, man, listen, there's never going to be enough time. Our kids are never going to be in a completely perfect, stable place. Like, the stars will never align. I think if you have a dream, you just go for it. You take that first step, and you be willing to risk, failure, or risk losing a little bit of money, or risk whatever it is. But I think the most important thing is that you're willing to try. And the advice that I give is you just take your first step, whether it's you sketch up what it is you want to do, whatever your dream is, talk to other people, get connected. The internet, obviously, is a brilliant resource, and you could learn just about anything. Little secret here, didn't go to culinary arts school. I have created and mastered my own recipes, and, I will occasionally run into a culinary student who will ask me, very specific questions about my sugars or my flours, and I don't have the educated answer to give. I have what I've learned from experience. So I think we feel threatened by, we need more experience, or we need to go to college for this or that. And I did go to college, not to bake cookies, but I think our life experiences can prepare us in ways that you don't realize. And then you learn, I'm having to manage not just the fun cookie side of it, where I get to bake them and taste them and sell them, but I have to manage all the other the back end stuff, the administrative and the money and budgeting, and that's not my strong point, but I'm learning. And I think just the last thing I would say about this, I love that my children get to watch the journey, because they ask a lot of questions, and what kind of parent am I if I say, go after your dreams no matter what? But I'm not, if I'm not setting that example for my kids. But they watch me. And, just a week ago, my son, Noah, he said he messed up. He made a mistake or something. And he said, Mom, do you ever make mistakes? And so we had a moment, and I sat down and I said, yeah, one time I burned an entire, 4 dozen cookies. I burned them. And he said, Mom, what did you do? I said, I was really bummed about it, but we pick ourselves back up. We toss them in the trash or feed them to the birds, and then, you have to press on, and you learn from your mistakes. So it was a really good life lesson I got to share with my son, that he watches me. He watches me in my business.
Well, that is really awesome advice, and I hope everybody listening has benefited from it. And finally, I'm hoping that by now everybody who's listening is just super hungry and craving these cookies. So how can our listeners get their hands on cookies from the Cookie Cult, and maybe what are a few flavors you recommend?
Okay. If you're in Charlotte, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, you can get the Cookie Cult cookies at Not Just Coffee. There's a location at 7th Street Market. There's one at Atherton Market, and it's not open yet, but there'll be a third one coming soon. You can also purchase the cookies at Encore Yoga Studio in the Plaza Midwood area. And then online, I have a website. It's real easy, thecookiecult.com. You can order cookies online. I also have T-shirts you can purchase. And I would say the most popular, I know it's cliche, but the most popular cookie I sell is the chocolate chip cookie. It is crunchy on the outside, and it's a little gooey in the middle. It features both a milk chocolate chip and a dark chocolate chip. And then my personal favorite is the crunchy peanut butter. It has real peanuts in it, so that's the crunchy part. But it's this really perfect blend of sweet and savory that just drives me crazy. So those are my two. I have a bunch of other crazy. I did a bacon bourbon cookie for Father's Day that was wildly popular.
Oh, I got to try that one.
It's like the secret one that's not on my website. But you shoot me an email, and if I'm in a good mood, you never know, I might bake it up for you.
That sounds like a plan. And I'll tell you what, guys, I can definitely vouch for both the chocolate chip and the peanut butter. They're probably my favorites, and they're both incredibly addicting. So if you're listening and your stomach is grumbling, listen to your tummy and go to thecookiecult.com and order several dozen, maybe some for you, some for your friends. Heck, get some for your enemies too. They'll probably like you a lot more after that. And support a great heart mom that's doing amazing work. Thank you, Jessie, for your time and for sharing your passion with us and with the world. And best of luck in the future with your business.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Chris. It was a lot of fun.
And that concludes this episode of Heart to Heart with Anna. Thanks for listening today. Please come back next week on Tuesday at noon Eastern Time. Until then, please find us and like us on Facebook. Check out our website, hearttoheartwithanna.com, and our Cafe Press Boutique. Follow our radio show on Blog Talk Radio and Spreaker. And remember, friends, you are not alone.
When you don't go to Geico.com, car insurance can be confusing. Like Swedish techno confusing.
Bark, bark, meow, meow. Dance with me, purple cow. Bark, bark, meow, meow. Ooh, you lovely cow.
Geico makes it easy. With 24/7 access, all you have to do is go to Geico.com and you could save money on car insurance. It just makes sense. Unlike,
Dance with me, purple cow. I like your moves.
Boar's Head invites you to enlighten your senses. Introducing Boar's Head Ichiban Teriyaki-style chicken. Inspired by Japanese master chefs, our signature teriyaki glaze is crafted with garlic, ginger, and a hint of brown sugar, then paired with our tender, slow-roasted chicken breast for a flavor that's sweet, savory, remarkably bold. Boar's Head Ichiban Teriyaki-style chicken, the bold flavor of Japan, now at the deli. Compromise elsewhere.